All right, let's not beat around the bush. If you're ever injured in some sort of accident and it turns into a legal case, you want to know how to get the most money possible to take care of yourself and your family. Well, here to tell us how to make that happen, attorney Phil Harding from Harding & Associates, who is here to answer your legal questions every Friday. Welcome back to Colorado's Best. Now, not only are you, answering our questions on Friday, but you are our legal expert, and I'm going to just run down your list of credentials because it's long. You have a long list here.
Sure.
But I want people to know why you're one of our experts. I mean, you've been named a top 100 trial lawyer in Colorado 4 years in a row now. You've been named a super lawyer. You've been interviewed as an expert by USA Today. That was during the shootings at the Aurora, the tragedy at the movie theater.
That's right.
And then just last month, you were named a top lawyer in Newsweek magazine.
Correct, right.
So that's incredible by Newsweek. Congratulations.
That's right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Way to go. So, you're also, you're educating our viewers, but you're also educating other attorneys. You're going to start teaching some courses next month. Tell me about that.
Well, so all attorneys are required to, because they have a license, take certain classes. And one of those that I'll be teaching next month to other attorneys is known as a CLE, which stands for Continuing Legal Education.
Okay.
And in that I'm teaching about personal injury, and I think there are two things that the viewers really need to know, these two concepts that are highly important. And so let's talk about them. One is called the Collateral Source Doctrine, and the other one is Colorado's Make Whole Law. And these are big concepts that everyone needs to understand to make more money for themselves.
So let's start with the Collateral Source Doctrine. What does that even mean?
All right, and what it essentially means is if a collateral source, like a health insurance, has paid for your medical bills, the other side doesn't get to reduce the amount. And so let's look at this graphic that's up, because it's highly important. This is an example, and if you look in the upper right-hand corner, it says explanation of benefits. So everyone calls them EOBs, and they start off on the left-hand side and they say the total charge for this surgery, let's say, and here it's Swedish Medical, was almost $30,000. But because you had health insurance, our discounted rate with Swedish is $20,000. And so the deductible that you need to pay is $970, and the amount covered by the plan is like $8,000, and it comes down, so essentially this almost $30,000 gets reduced down to only being paid $8,000. Now let's talk about this, and let's talk because this is so important, and this is how you make money. The insurance companies want you to sign a release.
Okay.
And the reason why they want you to sign a release is because they want these EOBs. They want to see how much your insurance company paid, not the amount billed, because then they come back and say, we're only going to compensate you for this $8,000, not the $30,000.
Really? What a huge difference. Now, I mean, can you block that, though? You can keep them from doing
absolutely. That? You're entitled to that, and you're entitled to redact. And that's take a magic marker or whatever.
Scribble it out.
And you only show the amount billed, not the amount paid. And let me tell you why that's important. Because you've been paying for health insurance. You're not getting back your premiums for the past 10 or 15 years, right? So why should the person that it ran into you get to benefit because you have health insurance?
Exactly. That should be benefiting you, not them. And that's like a $22,000 difference you're talking about, from 30 grand to 8.
And that's a huge difference that you have in negotiating. Wow. Finally, and so that's the Collateral Source Doctrine. A lot of attorneys don't know about that, and now we, or the viewers now know about that. Let's talk about another one that's going to mean money in your pocket.
This is making you whole.
It is making you whole. About 2 years ago, Colorado passed a law, and it's called the Make Whole Law. And what it says is any provision in a policy contract, specifically like a health insurance, a benefit allowing or requiring reimbursement for subrogation. And we've talked about subrogation before.
I know we've talked about it before, but it always confuses me. Yeah. What is it again?
Subrogation is the right of the person who paid out benefits for you, your health insurance, right, to get it back. That's subrogation.
Okay.
So if
reimbursement, basically.
Right. Okay. In that graphic that we saw before, that $8,000 that the health insurance is paying back, they're going to come back to you when you settle and say, we want that money that we paid back, paid out on your behalf. But this Make Whole Law essentially says that if you accept policy limits from someone who ran into you, and let's say they only have $25,000 or $100,000, in that scenario where from Swedish Medical, it was 30,000 billed on that one alone. If you accept policy limits, then it's presumed that you are not made whole and you don't have to pay back the subrogation. And I mean, that's a little confusing, so let's talk about this.
Yeah, it is very confusing, actually.
And so here's the thing. If you accept policy limits, in other words, let's say someone runs into you and they only have $25,000 of medical or of entire coverage for you, and you accept policy limits, the law assumes that you were not made whole because they paid all of their insurance. So you don't have to pay back subrogation. Now, there are exceptions to this. Remember, this is a Colorado law. If your health insurance is set up under a federal ERISA plan, then federal law, as we know, preempts state law. So that's one of those exceptions. So it's good to talk to an attorney.
You're going to have to come back and talk to us about that one the next time. These were two, very complicated, complex issues, but, you teach it to attorneys, you teach it to our viewers. And of course, I mean, if you are involved in an accident, you're definitely going to want to talk to an attorney. Better yet, talk to Phil. You can contact him directly. You can go to our website, coloradosbest.tv. Look for his photo there. You can click on it. You could submit your own questions right to him. He takes the time to answer them all personally. He might even address them right here on Colorado's Best. But if you have had an accident, you need to talk to him, just call him directly at his office, Harding and Associates. Here's the number, 303-762-9500. You can also reach him online at hlaw.org. Thanks, Phil.
You're welcome.